Hello everybody, welcome to your channel Learn with Smile by Disha. So in the previous video we have learned about pollination and types of pollination and agents of pollination and etc. But in today's video we are going to learn about fertilization. So what's this fertilization? Fertilization, you see, like other living things such as animals and human beings, plants also have a life that everybody knows, and just like us they tend to respire, means they can also die. Develop means they also grow as we human beings and animals grow. Excrete means that they also dump the waste things in their bodies, and reproduce means they also give offsprings. As the parents give offsprings, like that they also give offsprings. So yes, every little shock, like how can plants reproduce? But yes, plants majorly reproduce through three main steps, and those three main steps are pollination, fertilization and germination. So in today's video we are going to learn about fertilization in plants, and we have already completed pollination. So in the upcoming now today we are going to do fertilization, and in the upcoming videos we are going to learn about germination. Now this fertilization is a very important or a vital step for a plant to survive. Okay. Now how does this fertilization occur? Now let's first talk how this fertilization occur. You see, in plants this fertilization is a process of sexual reproduction which occurs after pollination. Means after pollination this fertilization process occurs, and these occurs like with male and female cell. As a male human being and female human being they together reproduce offsprings, like that only. And this fertilization in flowering plants happen through a process called pollination, as I mentioned. And this fertilization occurs when one of the sperm cells fuses with the egg inside of an ovule. And after this fertilization occurs, each ovule develops into a seed. But how this fertilization occurs, I am going to explain you in details. Okay. Now let's see. Okay. Now I am going to show you some pictures. Now we have some pictures in front of us that will explain us what is this fertilization. Now you see, firstly this fertilization occurs with the first step. When a mature pollen from an anther of a flower falls on the stigma of a same flower or different flower but of the same species or same kind by the aid of the pollinating agents. This is the first step. Means that this from any plant pollinating agent will take out a pollen, and then it will travel through a plant from where it will take out that pollen grains from the anther of a flower, and then it will transfer that pollen grain to another flower stigma, and it may be of the same flower, or it can also be from the different flower of different plant but of the same kinds. So it happened. Now this now that pollinating agents drop the pollens in a plant stigma. For example, this you see, now there are two pollen grains fallen over here, but you see each pollen grain grows a pollen tube down to the ovule. Okay, so this pollen grain is a very thin thread like tube. See this very thin thread like tube. Pollen tube is a very thin structure. So this is the pollen tube, as I told you. Now from the anther falls out small male germ cells that are also known as male gametes. Now what is this male germ cell? It comes out from the pollen grain and reaches where it fuses with the female germ cell, that is also known as the egg cell. So this male germ cell go down through the pollen tube. Means after these small pollen grains reach out a pollen tube like that, these male gametes reach out through the help of the pollen tube to the female gametes. Now remember that when we have a number of pollen grains fallen out, for here you see 3 pollen grains are fallen out, but not every pollen tube reaches the ovule. No, only one pollen tube. For example, you see these two have also reaches out pollen tube, but they have not gone till the last point. They have just started and ended. But this pollen tube, you see, it has reached till the ovule. Till the ovule it has reached. Okay. So this happened. So this pollen tube is going to now go down through the style. It goes down to one of the ovules in the ovary. This is the ovary, you see. This one is the ovary. And ovule, you know what is this? This one is the ovule. You all know what is ovule. As I explained you, this one is the ovule. It will reach one of the ovules when this pollen tube stretches out like this. See, it reached, and then it got inside. Gone? Finished? Now you will see now. Now, in the ovary, the male cell in the pollen grain fuses with the female cell in the ovule. Here, when it reaches down, when it goes reaching down, it will, you see here some small cells are there, and some of those are female cells. So when this male cell reaches there, when this male cell reached there, then it will fuse with one of the female cells present inside the ovule. Okay, it will fuse in the ovule. Okay, it fused now. Now this process is called fertilization. You see, this all fusion is called the fertilization, where a male cell fuses with a female cell. It is known as the process. It is known as the process fertilization. There is also secondary nucleus, which is not mentioned for your class, but just for your kind information, let me tell you what is the secondary nucleus. The secondary nucleus is a diploid nucleus formed by the fusion of two polar nuclei. Here you see small two polar nuclei are there. Means when these all togetherly means get fused, this is known as the secondary nucleus. It's not in a class, so don't give much attention to it. So this full process, as was explaining, this is fertilization. Now let me show you. See, everything is detailed. When a mature pollen from the anther of a flower falls on the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same kind by the help of the pollinators or pollinating agents, and etc. So we'll see this. Now you see, this fertilization process now happened when the male cell in the pollen grain fused with the female cell in the ovule. Now this process is fertilization. So in simple words, fertilization can be defined as the fusion of male and female gametes of the flower. And now the fusion of the gametes, male and female gametes. So when these all fuse together, they form a single cell called the zygote. Now let me explain you what is this zygote. Here you see, this is the female cell. Now this male cell is going to mix with the female cell. And now when they have mixed, they will form a big cell known as the zygote. Means when these all male cell and female cell fuse, they form a big cell that is known as the zygote. A single cell known as the zygote. This is the male cell. This is the female cell. And this one is the zygote. Totally gone. Means when the male gamete and female gamete totally fuse or mix, they form a single cell that is known as the zygote. Now this zygote again develops into a new plant later on. Means now they have formed a single cell that is known as the zygote. Now this zygote again develops or grows into a new plant. Okay. With time it grows up, the zygote. Now the ovules which were there, the ovules develop into the seeds, the ovary develops into the fruit, and the sepals and petals fall off. Okay? See here. This one is the ovule which I showed you. Now this ovule later will become the fruit which we are eating. Now this ovary, this ovule becomes into seeds. This ovule present will become into seeds, and now this ovary becomes into the fruit which we eat, the edible part of the fruit, and the sepals and petals which are always in a flower, they follow within the time. Okay? Let me explain you. See here. Now you see this small flower. Here this one is the ovules, this one is the ovary outside one, this one is the stigma. Then you know these are the stamens, and this one of course is the style, petal and sepal. But with time the sepals first wither. It's with sometimes the sepals wither. See, the sepals got withered, these all went out. Then the corolla wither. Now this corolla will also fall down. Now we have just left with this style, stamen, stigma and the ovules and ovary. Now again with some time the stamen, the stigma and style also fall off. Means these are also gone. Now we are just left with the ovary and ovules. This ovary with time develops into a fruit, and the ovules present in it with time develop into seeds. So thus this is the full fruit formation. So this is the fruit formation diagram. Means like this the fruit forms which we eat. So hope you are clear. So for only today this much. Thank you for watching.